What's going on, guys? Welcome.
I'm Jet.
And I'm Yao.
And welcome to our YouTube channel.
Alright, so we haven't been on here for a while, and we'll just give you a quick update of what's happened in the last couple months.
Yeah, so in about 2.5 months ago, 3 months, right? We moved to a new apartment, which we'll give you a tour later. We love it. And I started a new job, which is like a new residency program. And what else?
And we're just being awesome.
Just living our best
That's pretty much
life.
it. Yeah. So,
okay. So what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about making friends as an adult.
Yes.
Right.
So the reason why we decided to talk about or choose this topic is for two reasons, right? One, I recently listened to a podcast by Therapy for Black Girls, and their topic was on making friends as adult. And there are a lot of things they discussed that resonated to me. So then I had Yao listen to it too, and he was like, you know what?
I was quite impressed. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over a couple points of what we've got from the actual podcast.
Right.
And then kind of put our own little spin on it.
Right. So first of all, I want to ask you, do you think it's difficult to make friends as an adult?
I believe it is difficult to make friends as an adult, just because we're not put in situations like we were in our youth to just organically get friends.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Side note, I'm still in my youth. I don't know about him. But no, I totally understand. I understand what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when we're growing up, right, we were in grade school and high school and colleges.
Right.
We're always in an environment where we were working with other people, either our same age or people with similar interests. So over time, you just develop this friendship organically. without actually like seeking for them, right? They just happen.
Right.
And
you can be on the same team.
Right.
And you can join friends. You can be in the same dance team.
Right.
Book club.
Right.
Homeroom, lunch.
Right.
Doing a project together.
Right.
And then you just become friends.
Right.
You exchange numbers and you hang out.
Exactly. So it was a lot easier, right? And so as you transition to being an adult, right, you're not necessarily in those environments anymore. I mean, you are at work and you're working with people that basically kind of do the same thing that you do, but I think it's in a different setting, right? So the concept of organically making friends from that scenarios aren't as easy as they were when we were younger. And so that's one thing the podcast brought up, which I thought was very true. Another thing I want to bring about is, so recently, during the summer, we went to a friend's summer party, right? And I had a similar conversation with another adult, right? Or a couple that we met, and they share the same view on making friends as an adult. And so I think if a lot of us are going to be honest about it, most of our close friends, the people that we develop these friendships with from our college years or high school years long term, right? And so when it comes to making new friends, like a lot of us, out of fear of rejection and out of convenience, right? It's harder to develop those new friendships.
Right. Yeah, so exactly. I mean, you're living your own life. Like, you're at work, you don't want to really socialize with people at work, especially if you guys don't have things in common.
Right.
So you're going to default go to your friends that you're used to that happen organically in college or in high school.
Right.
So now, how do you make friends as an adult?
Right.
So one of the big things we're talking about is being intentional about creating spaces to where you can interact with people and put yourself in social events or social gatherings, so you can kind of meet these people, put yourself out there. So we're talking about being intentional versus organic.
Okay, so then those are two different ways, right, of forming these friendships. So one is, as Yao already said, being intentional, as in going out there and having the intention of, I am here to find my people. I am here to find or to develop new relationship with people with similar interests, versus just letting it happen, right? And that also applies to already developed friendships, right? So a prime example that I like to go to would be, I am at an age or a period in my life where some of my friends are married with kids, some are in serious relationships, some are single. And so the dynamic of our friendship, whether I like it or not, changes, right? Yeah. And I think a point that was brought up in the podcast was, for friendships like that, because it's been developed over time, right? The amount of effort you put in also changes versus very new friendships. So let me explain it better. So if you have a friend who is married with kids, right? And let's say this friend lives in Connecticut, right? And you live in New Jersey, versus a new friendship that you formed where this new friendship also entails a person who is married with kids and they live in New Jersey and you live in New York, right? It would take a lot for you to go and visit or put in the effort to go and visit this new person, right? Because your friendship and the meaning of it has less significance because it's new. It hasn't tested time.
You haven't really discovered who the person is. Are they really a good fan? Are they going to really be there for you? So you haven't had that time and investment yet.
Exactly. Versus the person that you've developed this friendship over time and it has tested different different trials and tribulations, right? And so for you to travel all the way from New Jersey to Connecticut would be a bit more easier for you to do because of the significance of that friendship, right? But that also comes down to, are you being intentional with the new friendship that you have? Are you going to put in the effort to get to know this person, get to know, what kind of value that relationship or that friendship can add to you? Or just allowing it to organically grow. Like you're like, okay, you know what? Whenever we meet, we'll meet. If it works out, it works out. I'm not really gonna go out of my way to come visit you all the way in God knows where because it's not convenient for me. So I think that's the difference between being intentional with a friendship versus
and basically, if you're involved in that relationship already, you're going to put in that effort. But let's say you haven't met anybody and you want new friends. So being intentional, going out to social gatherings, talking to people and saying, hey, like, you're pretty cool, I'm pretty cool, let's hang out. I mean, you can find your way to have that conversation because a lot of people fear rejection, but those people that you're coming up to also fear rejection. So be open, be honest, be intentional, be present. Don't be on your phone.
Yes, like I was going to say that. Yeah.
People are. If you're on your phone, you're walking through a party. People are gonna be like, okay, that person might think they're hot stuff and they don't want to talk to anybody, right? But that person on the phone is probably just afraid,
right?
So don't let fear, kind of drive you. Be intentional about putting yourself out there and getting friends.
Right. And so for people that plan on putting themselves out there and finding their people or finding new friends. One of the things that was brought up in the podcast, again, that I thought was very important to share was that whenever you are in a space, your mindset, right? Your mindset within that space is easy for people to like acknowledge and see that, right? So if you go into a gathering, let's say a cocktail hour, right? And you're there and you're on the phone because in your mind you're like, nobody wants to know me anyway. Like I don't think I fit in this group, or I'm not cool enough to be in this space. Like, let me just be on my phone and kill time and look interested. Your mindset has already drowned your presence, right. So then you're not believing that you're warranted to be in that space. It's easy for a lot of people to like pick up on that vibe, versus you going into a space of getting to know people with the mindset of, I am here to get to know people. I'm pretty cool, Right. I have something to offer within this gathering. Right. So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna introduce myself to people. I think it also comes down to being an introvert and extrovert, but that's a totally different discussion.
Yeah, that's a different discussion. I think whether you're introvert or extrovert, you can be present. So even if you're not someone that goes up, like for me, I'm personal. I go and talk to anybody. Like that's just my personality.
I'm the opposite.
She's the opposite. But as long as you're present and you're welcoming, you have a welcoming energy, then people can come up to you and then you can start that conversation. So I think that's really important about having intention and being present with that intention. And then we'll talk about what do we want out of friendship. So I think that would be the last topic we'll touch on. What do you actually want out of a relationship? What are the expectations that you have?
I think this is a huge one, right? Mostly because in friendships, we do not set that expectation.
Right.
You know,
From the
if you're
beginning.
right, and if you're going to be honest with yourself and think about the pockets of friends that you have, do you really have an expectation from those particular pockets of friendships?
And should you?
And should you, right? Because then that's like a lot of pressure. Because it versus being intimate with someone, right? Because when you get to know someone from the beginning and you're trying to date the person, you're like, I want this relationship to go towards this direction. I want you to do this for me, and I'm going to do this for you. People make these things known from
like I
the
want
get-go.
kids or I want to get married. But do you do those things in a
Wait,
friendship?
do we? And are we supposed to?
I believe that you are supposed to. I
I
believe that asking you shall receive. All right. So if you close mouths don't get fed. You see what I'm saying?
We're saying.
So it's like if you don't say something, this is what I want out of the relationship, or can you help me, or I'm in a time of need. It's a way for that person to also be like, oh, they're actually asking me for help.
Yeah.
So I must be important to them. Now you're showing them that you're as important to me, and I'm showing a little bit of vulnerability. So now we can have that kind of back and forth. I'll help you, you help me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, for instance, if you are one of those people like myself, where I just like to give and like to give and like to give, like to give, I don't really expect anything back. But if you're trying to get friends and you're like, well, I want to take this person out, I want to take them to the airport, but they didn't ask you to do those things.
They did not.
You see what I'm saying?
And that's
So-
where we fall.
Right. If you expect those things back because you did them, I think that's wrong.
And that's a recipe for disappointment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every single time. So if you don't have expectations of a friendship, not just an intimate relationship, but a regular friendship, you have to be able to ask what the expectations are in the beginning. Now, again, how you go about asking or how you go about investigating what those are, that's up to you, and that could be another conversation. But I do definitely believe you have to do those things if you want to have a very successful, long-lasting, and reciprocated relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I do for you, you do for me.
Right.
But those things have to be acknowledged.
It
in
has
the
to be
beginning.
acknowledged,
Yeah.
yeah. I was also going to say that like that's in reference to stating where your expectation
Right.
is the reason why I think a lot of friendships as an adult can easily go down the drain is because people did not acknowledge the fact that there are things in the friendships that they want and are lacking.
Mhm.
And because it's a lot more difficult for people to voice those opinion, because it's kind of weird. I initially thought it was
so an example
weird.
that are lacking, like in my okay, I'm your friend, and I know you're a fun person,
Right.
and I'm naturally not a fun person,
Right.
So I want to be your friend, so I can be part of that fun.
Right.
So I'm lacking there, so that's what I'm seeking out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
So I mean, I think it's in that same category as
Right.
that example. But what I was trying to say is, so if you are in a friendship where, or you start developing a friendship with someone, who is resourceful,
Right.
And you know that, okay, I want to be resourceful, but this person's really great at it. I think coming forward and saying, I like you as a person, I really do, and I want to develop this friendship with you. But at the same time, at the end of it, can you teach me how to do this? And I think any normal human being, and one that is not selfish, would easily, appreciate you being forthcoming.
Right. And they're gonna feel needed.
They're
gonna be
gonna
like,
feel
wow,
needed,
This person
and-
really came to me for my advice, or for
Right.
my counsel. That everyone wants to feel needed. So you shouldn't think that like, oh, I'm asking them, it's going to seem like I'm greedy or I'm trying to manipulate them or take
Right.
something from them. No, on the opposite. If someone comes to me and be like, Gal, can you help me with whatever such and such because you're really good at it? I'm going to be like, all right, for sure.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's that's what all humans want. They want to
feel needed,
you
right?
know?
Right.
So for sure, I mean, those are things that we think, or giving you reasons why getting friends as an adult is important. You got to make sure you're intentional about what you're doing,
Yeah.
instead of like back in the day where it can be organically
Right.
done. And you have to lay out expectations.
Lay out
Like, what are your
expectations, definitely.
expectations for the relationship?
Right.
And just kind of communicate those things.
Honest communication, that's
Honest
one big
communication,
thing.
yeah,
That
huge.
is one huge thing. I think I have a prime example in my life that I really want to share. So I have a very good friend. Like, we've been friends since college, love her to death, right? But I think recently that was a topic that either of us were uncomfortable to discuss, regardless of how long of a friendship we've had, until it got to a point where it was basically affecting the relationship, right? But we're all both very intelligent, like, women, and that should have never happened. But because none of us wanted the other person to feel uncomfortable, we just dragged it along. But what it ultimately did was taunted that relationship. So then I think the biggest problem looking back was just having an honest conversation. Because if you can honestly come to your intimate partner and say, this is not working, how about we do this? Why can we not do that to a friendship?
Exactly.
You know, it's just because we do not think most of these friendships, we don't put
Value.
to it as much as we really should.
It's like, oh, they're my friend from college, or oh,
yeah,
they're always
that's
going to
fine.
kind of
It's
be
gonna
around.
be that, but that's not it.
No,
You know,
you gotta
and
be intentional.
you have to be intentional. And going forward as an adult, like finding people with similar interests, it's important to state those intentions up front and put in their effort. You know, because I think within us, we still have those characters we had as kids. You know, because as kids, we wanted to make friends, like we wanted to meet people, and we wanted to share with those people, right?
Exactly.
What changed as an adult?
Nothing's changed.
Nothing really.
Just
I mean, the
more
responsibilities of being an
and
adult,
job, but it's the same thing.
yeah,
You know, it's the same thing. You have to be able to, the same things that made you feel whole in friendships as kids, it's the same thing that's going to make you feel whole as adults.
right.
So think of it like that and approach it with intention. I think that's the main focus
Yeah.
that we're talking about here. And then laying out the expectations in the beginning. Be
Right.
upfront with what you want out of this friendship,
Yeah.
what you will deal with, and what
Right,
you
what
won't
you-
deal with.
exactly.
Treat it like a regular relationship, like I treat my wife that way. Like, well, I'm gonna talk with her with everything, about everything, and you should be able to do the same thing with your friends.
With your friends,
And
yeah.
I think that will help you maintain the friendships that you have to be stronger, and make it a little bit easier for you to start new relationships
Yeah.
that are long lasting and meaningful. All right, so comment below and subscribe.
Yeah, somewhere around that.
What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think, really? Do you think making friends as an adult should be unintentional or something that organically happens? And, you know, share with us what your experience has been developing these friendships as an adult. Thank you for watching.